The panic, the fear, and the uncertainty made me lose precious moments. The nephew and the cousin had already grabbed me from behind. They tugged at my hair from over my sister's niqab and pushed me to the floor. I tried to fight them with all my might. I clawed at them with my bare hands. However, my strength was nothing compared to that of those monsters. I was, after all, just 17. These are the words from the memoir of an acid attack survivor. This excerpt from the book, Being Reshma, chronicles the beginning of a brand new journey, one filled with horror and immense pain. At 17, a young woman immensely loved by her mother, her father, her brothers, and her family, found herself in a situation she never expected to be in. Her brother-in-law and his relatives, in a fit of familial rage, attacked her with concentrated acid in Mawima, Allahabad, a 17-year-old girl. As her skin started falling off her face, the flesh crumbled and distorted her facial features. She always thought that no matter what, her attackers would always be a part of her life. Because every time she saw herself in the mirror, her face was a reflection of what they did to her. Every time she walked out of the door, people pointed and stared, a harsh reminder of what they did to her. You see, the men thought that they would ruin Reshma's life if they attacked her with acid. Because we live in a world and a society where beauty is a North Star guiding you towards everything that's good and gentle. And by scarring her face, they permanently published a punishment on her face, which told the world that she must have done something bad enough to have been attacked with acid. And at the end of the day, that's exactly what happened. Because every time she walked out of the door, people asked her, "What happened to you?" But what did you do? Why did they attack you with acid? This immense, deep, entrenched conditioning of victim blaming permanently altered her life. The reason I started to say what I am going to say today by drawing from her example is because I run an NGO called Make Love Not Scars, which till date has rehabilitated over 80 acid attack survivors in India. And Reshma Qureshi is just one of these survivors. Make Love Not Scars works in all aspects of rehabilitating acid attack survivors, and I, in support with my partner and best friend, Riya Sharma, have been working in the field for around 4 years now. The reason I'm here today is to talk to you about what we do, why we do what we do, and why and how we are able to hold such hope in what is seemingly such a hopeless situation. So Make Love Not Scars started as an idea for a documentary. Riya was 21 years old and she was studying in Leeds in the UK when she came across a photograph of an acid attack survivor, raised in such a sheltered environment and then going abroad to study at the age of 18. She was not totally aware of all the atrocities taking place in our society. And haunted by these images, she flew back to India with nothing but a camera in her hand, hoping to shoot a documentary for her final year project. But what she soon realized was that while this documentary might help spread awareness in the long run, it would make no difference in the lives of the survivors today. And that was the urgent hour of the need. So she shelved the idea, the documentary was not produced, and a full-fledged organization was instead set up. And, the end of the day, what matters is that sometimes you have to follow your gut, and that is exactly what she did. So in 2014, December, Make Love Not Scars celebrated its first birthday. So in India, there are over 1,000 reported acid attacks every year. However, the UK reports a higher number of acid attacks than India does, which is shocking because we have 1 billion more people. So what this tells us and what our comparative studies with the data in India and in other countries such as Africa, UK, Pakistan, Bangladesh shows us that the number of reported figures in India is highly underreported. The rate of crime is not actually a reflection of the crime itself, but a reflection of numerous other factors, such as the willingness of the survivors to report the crimes, considering that many survivors have been attacked by their own family members, husbands, fathers, etc. The second thing to note is, so what our data shows us is that the rate of crime is not a reflection of the crime itself, but an accumulation of many factors. A lot of survivors are attacked by their own family members. A lot of local authorities refuse to note down the crime because it reflects badly on the governance matters. And a lot of survivors simply pass away before they've ever had the chance to report the crime. So the real figure on the ground is probably 10 times worse than what we see. Can you imagine what it must be like to be living in a situation where you've been attacked by your own family members and you have nowhere to go? To lose your face, your skin, your flesh. Acid is something that corrodes through metal. Can you imagine what it's like if it corrodes through your skin? You're literally outcasted from society. People don't give you jobs. Social media covers your face because your face is too graphic, a situation you cannot change. And we wish to change that for survivors and to give them just a little bit of hope. We also noticed that in a country like India, where less than 5% of our population is actually able to, file their returns, let alone pay taxes, it's almost impossible for a government to cater to the immediate need of the hour. Our government support systems are highly overwhelmed, and nonprofits can step in to bridge the gap between what the government offers and what people actually need on the ground. So as a result, we came together to create the world's first rehabilitation center of its kind for acid attack survivors. From the moment we first identify a case, we look at immediate life-saving functions. The law states that acid attack survivors are to be given free of cost life-saving treatment. However, post that they're on their own. The cost of reconstructive surgeries is extremely high, so we fund private surgeries for survivors at some of the best private hospitals span India, post which they come to our center to recover from their surgeries. After we look at that, we also look at emotional and psychological rehabilitation. So we make sure that they once again feel motivated to go out there and rebuild a life, because a lot of survivors want nothing more than to kill themselves. Post that, we really severely encourage survivors to become contributing members of society. We come up with personalized, catered skill training and educational programs. We help them follow their own dreams. We have survivors who are today working in the High Court. We have survivors who set up their own small businesses funded by us. And once all of that is done, we encourage them and help them find independent jobs or set up their own small businesses so they can move out from the center and lead their own lives. So it's a beautiful transitionary journey, and we look at it in a wholehearted manner. In situations where survivors have been attacked by their own husbands and the parents aren't supporting them, we don't wish the impact of this generation to move forward to the next. So we also put their children up for education in private boarding schools. So this is just like a few pictures of the work we do. This is our rehab center where they study. The key to doing what we do is to remember why we do what we do. So lots of times people have reached out to us and they've said, we would love to help you, but we just need an organization that has global impact. And we understand the sentiment. We've only rehabilitated 80 acid attack survivors. No, we have not provided safe drinking water to millions of people. No, we have not affected infant mortality rates. No, we are not working towards improving environmental degradation. We are not eradicating polio. But what we are doing is giving hope to those people who have been ostracized from society, hidden away in the sidelines, and for some reason have been completely ignored by every government, every private organization, every NGO. When we came into the field, there wasn't a single nonprofit that ran rehabilitation programs for acid attack survivors, that had a halfway home for acid attack survivors. And 4 years later, we've realized that more and more acid attack survivors are coming out to report the crime simply because we've been able to bring attention to it. So we might not be changing the world, but we are changing lives. For example, this is Soni Devi. Soni was born in a small village in UP. She was about to join the police force, and her parents forced her to get an arranged marriage. 6 months into the marriage, the abuse became so tremendous in nature that her father-in-law one day beat her up because she used too much soap to wash the dishes. Another day, her husband cut off her hair while she slept because she used too much shampoo. Finally, they attacked her with acid. For 10 years, Soni stayed with her mother and father in her house in a little village in UP, never going out because people stared at her and blamed her for what had happened. When she heard of Meklavnath's cause, she came to Delhi and she was so bright, all she needed was an opportunity. So we hired her, and she now manages the rehab center as an employee, earns her own money, and supports her family. This is Anupama. Anu was 13 years old when she was attacked with acid in Bihar. As a result of that, her mother passed away from the stress. She was constantly unable to develop in a mature manner because her mind was always stuck in the past. And the reason she was attacked was because a 35-year-old man wanted to marry her. Anu came to Delhi, we funded her surgeries, and she recently got a diploma from beauty school at Shahnaz Hussain. And today she hopes to start her own beauty parlor someday. These are the kind of women we're affecting. These are the kind of women we're helping. And at the end of the day, the reason we do this is because I cannot imagine any of us ever being in that situation. 80% of acid attack survivors in India are women. The remaining 20% are men, children, members of the LGBTQ community. The youngest case I've handled was a 2-year-old baby boy. At the end of the day, we have to remember that there is no support on the ground for people. There are countless stories we've not heard because of the sheer volume of people in our country. And it is important to bridge the gap between what is needed and what is being provided. So, Meklavnath's cause, till date, has tried to really spread awareness on acid attacks. And we ran this campaign called End Acid Sale. So what we are demanding is for a complete ban on acid attacks, and we will carry on that journey till we accomplish it. One of the key things that people also ask me in this field is that how do you manage to stay hopeful in what is seemingly such a hopeless situation? And for that, I would say that the world today is far better than it was in the past. According to Hans Rosling, the best-selling author of Factfulness, he stated that his biggest fear is that people simply do not know how much better off the world is today. Today, while we speak, 200,000 people will be lifted above the $2 a day poverty line. Today, as we speak, over 300,000 people will get access to electricity and water for the first time. Over the past 2 decades, the proportion of people living below the poverty line, as in they are unable to afford food, has decreased in half. Over the last 100 years, the number of deaths related to natural causes has decreased to less than half, natural disasters. What I'm trying to tell you is that the world today is more hopeful than it has ever been in the past. But that doesn't mean that we don't have a right to feel sad. That doesn't mean that we don't have a right to feel hopeless in the situation today. It's like comparing apples to oranges. For example, I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid and I used to complain, my parents were always like, when we were your age, we had no electronics, we had no TV, we had to go play in the heat, the electricity didn't work, we had to sleep outside. And I'm like, sure, but your great ancestors didn't have clothes. So it shouldn't really matter. We should not look at the past to feel better about ourselves. But what we should do is recognize that the privileges we have today have come from what was seemingly a hopeless place. The reason all of us today are here is because someone in the past fought for us to have these rights. And we're in a much better place than we were in the past. And where I drive my hope from is in knowing that in the future, the world will be even more hopeful than it is today if only we carry on the journey we're on today. So for example, 5 years ago, there were no rehabilitation centers for acid attack survivors. Today, we've rehabilitated 80. But we will not rest until there's a day that no survivor walks in through our doors because acid attacks cease to exist. And if all of us work towards it, I do know that it is a reality we can easily accomplish. As for Reshma Qureshi, the girl with whom I started the story, Reshma is now 23 years old. She recently went to America for her surgeries. She lives with us in the rehab center in Delhi. She was the face of our End Acid Sale campaign, which was a series of beauty vlogs called Beauty Tips by Reshma. Overnight, her videos garnered over 2 million views as she demanded a simple signature on a petition to the Prime Minister demanding an end to over-the-counter sale of acid. Her videos were so simple. Basically things like, it takes 3 minutes to put on blush, but 30 seconds to scar a face. And messages as powerful as this, with the fact that acid is being sold cheaper than a 15 milliliter bottle of eyeliner at 40 rupees a liter, there is an urgent need to end acid sale. And she also ended up becoming the first acid attack survivor to walk the New York Fashion Week, has made it to the cover of numerous magazines worldwide, and is now a model, a vlogger, an author, and an activist. And we truly believe that if we carry on with our journey, there will be a day where acid attacks will no longer exist. And that is where we get our hope from. Thank you.